I hope you all are doing well. So in this video, we will go over the solution for lab 4A. Now, starting this lab, for every code question, you are supposed to draw a flowchart. And the reason is that flowchart will be part of your exam. So you need to be aware what kind of flowchart goes with what kind of code. Because there might be questions in the exam where you have to pick a flowchart for a given snippet of code, or a flowchart is given to you and you have to select snippets of code according to whichever one is the correct answer. So it's important that you've practiced it beforehand so you're aware of what different flowcharts would look like. So anyway, I'll go over all the questions in this lab. So the first one, you're supposed to select the correct shapes for each of the listed items. So the first one is, which symbol represent a decision? It's the diamond. The diamond shape represents decision. What symbol represents data? It's the parallelogram. I will show it to you in the next question when we're trying to draw the flowchart for the code. And then what symbol represents logical flow? It is the one that allows you to connect all the shapes, and it's the dynamic connectors. What shape represents an action? It is the rectangles. Rectangles represent action. What symbol are required for each decision? So each decision needs to have yes or no arrows. And what symbol represents the start and the end of the program? It's not really a circle, but since the option is only for a circle, we'll go with that. And then what type of questions should be asked in a decision box? It is the questions that give you true or false as answers. So that is the answer for question 1. For question 2, you're supposed to create a program, and the name of the class is age. The program should take the user's age as input, and the age that the user provided you needs to be printed out. The second thing is that if the user is under 21 years old, you're supposed to print a statement indicating how wonderful it is to be young, and you're supposed to use if control structure for this exercise. Your output should match as the one provided below. So first you prompt the user for the age, you read the age that the user provided you print the age that was provided, and then if this age that is given to you as input, if it is less than 21, only then you print it's great to be young. Otherwise, we print nothing. So we'll try to create the flowchart for this. And for that, we use the website draw.io. Once you type the website name here, it basically asks you to create, it allows you to create, let's say, flowcharts. And you can pick other type of diagrams as well, but the one we are going to stick with is flowchart. But here what you have to choose is a blank diagram. You have to give it a name. Let's say lab 4AQ2, and then you create, and then it stores. The first time you go to this website, what happens is it asks you where you want to store the file that will be created. So you will choose device, and then it will ask you on your computer where you want to store it. So that is one step that was skipped here because I'm using it after that only happens when you use the website for the first time. So when the file is open here, what you're supposed to do is close the general dropdown and open the flowchart dropdown. This is where you will pick the shapes from. Now, other dropdowns also have similar shapes, but that is not probably the correct one. So always pick the shapes from the flowchart dropdown. Now, every flowchart needs to have a start and an end, and both the start and end of a flowchart are represented through the terminator shape. So the first one, I will add it for start, and then the second one I will add it for end. Now just after the start you will always have the data block. Now here you will mention, so basically the data block, this is the parallelogram shape. So the data block or the parallelogram shape allows you to showcase or let the user know, or let the person who's reading this flowchart know what objects and variables they need to create in the program in order to build this program. So since we're reading an input from the user, we need a scanner object. And so I will write declare scanner object, and then we need one integer variable to store the age given by the user. So int age variable, that is it. We don't need anything more. And then the first thing you need to do is prompt the user. So tell the user what you want them to provide. And for that, what we use is the process block. Now here what we write usually is prompt user for age, read and store age. So after you prompt the user will provide you the age. Then you read that age from the user and then you store it in the age variable, and then finally print provided age, which is part of the code. Once you get the age from the user after the prompt, you need to print the age for the user back. Now you could have written this in three different process blocks, but I choose to use just one. You can combine them as well, no problem in that. And then you need to have a decision, because after you get the age from the user, you need to decide, okay, the age that the user provided you, is it less than 21? If it is less than 21, you do something. Otherwise, that's the end of the program. Nothing more. So here you can write is age less than 21, and always put a question mark in these diamond shapes, the decision blocks. And then if it is less than 21, then you are supposed to print it's great to be young. I think that's the sentence. Yes, it's great to be young. That is what you need to print. And if it is false, I mean if the age is greater than 21, or if the age is 21 or greater than 21, then in that case we don't do anything because it was not requested in the program. So now what you need to do is connect. When you hover over any of the shapes, you will see there are 4 arrows around it. You can just click on it and drag it and drop it to the next shape to connect it. Make sure whenever you create a flowchart, everything is connected. Otherwise, it is not a complete flowchart. So this one will be connected here. This one is connected here. And if you double click on the arrows, you can even type. So this arrow represents the true, or you can even write yes. It's the same. So this represents the true side, and then the other side represents the end, which, sorry, the false side, which we can connect to the end. This is false. And then this needs to also be connected to end, because every shape in the flowchart needs to be connected. You can't leave it hanging like that. So this is the flowchart for the second question. Now you have to use this flowchart to basically code. So you need to start coding. First, you would create a class, public class age, because they've provided the name age. And then your main method, public static void main string bracket arguments. Now you are supposed to declare the scanner object and create integer variable. So to declare the scanner object, you are supposed to write scanner. You can name it whatever you want. I usually name it input is equal to new scanner system.in. And then because you're using scanner, you have to import java.util.scanner. And then we need the the age variable. So int age, because age is a number, right? Now prompt the user. So if you look here, we need to prompt the user, read and store the age and print the provided age. So that we can do using, the first one would be a print statement. So system.out.println, and you're supposed to write enter your age. So to read the age, you would use the scanner object, which is input.next int y_int, because the input is of the type integer, and then store it in age. And then finally system.out.println, you entered, remove the age that is printed there and put the variable age, because that is the age. We need to print the age that the user gave us. Now after that, we have a decision which says if is age less than 21. So we check if age is less than 21. In that case, we need to print it's great to be young. So system.out.println, it's great to be young, and that should be it. Now one thing to notice here is that there's a hint which says make sure to declare and use a constant for storing the value 21 and using it in the if statement. So this value 21, they want you to create a constant for it. And so in order to do that, we will use the word final int, give it a name, let's say age limit is equal to 21. And then instead of using 21 directly in the condition, we would write age limit. Okay. Now if you check, it should work. I don't know if it is going to work because there's a problem with CodeRunner since a few days now. And they were working on fixing it, but let's see. And for this, okay, so it's working. Now for the second one, it's literally the same code, because it says amend the code you created in question 2 so that if the user is under 21 years old, print one statement, which is it's great to be young. Otherwise, print statement age is a state of mind. Use the if else control structure. Now you can copy the same exact code and paste it here. And now if the age is less than the age limit, which is 21, we print it's great to be young. Otherwise, we print system.out.println age is a state of mind. Okay, and it should work. Now please remember that wherever we use the curly braces in our code, which is for class, for the method or the main method here, the if statements and the else, we never put semicolon next to them. So for example, here you would never put a semicolon because it will not give you an error, but it will not work, because it will skip everything else, because you've said this is the end of the statement. So it will skip this whole block. So make sure whenever you're writing if, else, or not just these, but whenever you have a curly brace, the curly braces, never put semicolon before that. Okay, now you can check this, and meanwhile we can amend the flowchart here. So now for the false, we have another, I can just copy this actually. We have another print statement, which is print age. Print age is a state of mind. Okay, and then you connect the false side here, and then make sure that this is connected to the end here. Now, one thing that can also show up in your exam is these kind of flowchart snippets. So basically, this kind of flowchart or this kind of selection is called two-way selection, because you have one set of instructions for the true side and one set of instructions for the false side. The one that was previously done, the one that I showed you before, that one is an example of one-way selection, because you only had one set of instructions for the true side and nothing for the false side. So that one was one-way selection. This one is two-way selection. And then we have something called cascaded and nested, which you will see in the upcoming questions. But it's important to know what kind of flowchart is for what kind of code. Okay. So, okay, this is correct as well. Now write your own password checker program. Class name is password checker. Take in the password string format as input from the user. Check if the password is the same as this. This is the correct password, and you're supposed to store this as a constant. If it is, display a message stating you have gained access to the system. Otherwise, display a message stating your password is incorrect. Now you can also Google how to compare two strings in Java. It's literally this same kind of code. You can change it to make it work for this program. The first thing you would change is the name of the class, which is password checker. Then we have the main method, we have scanner for reading. We had int age for the age input, but this time the input is of the type string because it has multiple characters. So string, and then the name of the input, we can change it to password. So similarly, the final thing that we're going to compare it with, which is the correct password, is also string. So we will change that data type and then change the name of the constant as well, correct password, and make sure that you copy and paste the correct password, because some of the characters are not how they look. Like this, you may think that this is O, but this is 0. So this is the correct password. The prompt is please enter password, which is here. And then this, we changed it to password. And then because we're reading text, now it can either be next or next line, because password is just one word. So you can use next or next line. And then no need to print it back. Now you just need to make a decision whether the password was correct or not. So to compare password, here we would need to compare two string objects. And to compare string objects, there's a method called dot equals, and there's another method called dot equals ignore case. To write this comparison, select any of these two strings. I will select password. So password dot equals, and then correct pass. So what this equals method does, basically this is a method that belongs to the string class, and you can only use it with string objects. So if you have a string object, only then you can use dot equals. So password, what this method equals does is it checks every character that is stored in password. Is it the same as the characters stored in correct password, including the case? So for example, if here the user wrote capital A, it should be capital A in the correct password. If it is small a, it should be small a. But let's say there is a situation where we only want to compare the word. We want to only make sure the word is the same. We don't care if the case is the same. So it can be either capital A or small a, it doesn't matter as long as the word is the same. In that case, you can use equals ignore case. But for passwords, we always use equals because it should be an exact match. If in my password I have a capital A, I should always write it as a capital A. I cannot write it as a small a. Okay, so whatever you write within the curly brackets of the if statement is whatever should happen in the true scenario. So if the password was correct, we want to print out you have gained access to the system. Okay, but if the password was incorrect, you will print your password is incorrect. And then you can check. It is exactly the same kind of flowchart. The only thing will change is the small detail. So string, password, and then a string is an object. So object, read prompt, user for password, read and store password, and no need to print anything after that. Check is password correct. If it is, then you print something. If it is not, you print something else. I hope that's clear. Okay, so it is correct here. Now for the fifth question, you're supposed to create a Java program called menu that displays a menu for a user. The user will be displayed a list of options. By choosing an option, a piece of information about Bahrain will be displayed to the user. Make sure to test for invalid input or present the following message to the user: you entered a wrong choice. This is the menu that you have to display for the user. And then, okay, for example, if I choose one, if the user chooses one, let's say, you will print your choice was one, the capital of Bahrain is Manama. If let's say the user chooses three, you have to print your choice was three. Bahrain has 2 seasons, an extremely hot summer and a relatively mild winter. And if the user chose 50, let's say, then it's not among any of the choices, so you can print you entered a wrong choice. So how would you create that? The name of the class is menu, so public class menu, public static void main, string bracket arguments, and then you need a scanner to read from the user. So scanner input is equal to new scanner system.in. Because we're using scanner, you need to write import java.util.scanner semicolon, and then the choices that we're reading from the user, the input type is a number, so it will be int choice. Okay, and then you need to print this menu for the user. Okay, so you have choose an option to display the corresponding piece of information, and this is how you will print system.out.println. And just maybe let's try to copy paste it. Now here what we can do is, okay, let's try it this way. So put a plus, close the double quotes at the end, and then put a plus, and then all of these will be in double quotes, new line, double quotes, plus, double quotes, new line, double quotes, plus, double quotes, new line, double quotes, plus. The plus is for concatenation because we have text on the next line, and if you can notice, it becomes white because it's not considered part of the previous line. So in order to connect it with the previous line, you have to make sure that that you add the plus. So I just want to test if this is going to be correct. Piece of information, yeah, I think it's printed the same way. So okay, so now we have to ask the input, which will be all of this. I can move it here and then continue on the next line. So here choice is equal to input dot next int, and then if choice is equal to 1, then you're supposed to print your choice was 1, the capital of Bahrain is Manama. So system.out.println, your choice was 1, the capital of Bahrain is Manama. Now we have multiple choices, right? So we can't write them as if, because every time if you write them as separate if statements, for example, like this, it will keep checking every single, so even if the user gave you 1 and this was printed, it will still go and check the next one. We don't want that. We only wanted to check for one match, and then if the match is not found, or if the match was found, let's say, then in that case skip everything else. So if choice 1 was true, then skip everything else after that. But if choice was not, let's say if choice 1 was not true, then in that case go and check for the next one. So how to write that? That is an example of cascaded statement. So any kind of questions where you have multiple options to choose from, it's always a cascaded statement, cascaded if. So in that case, how we write code is if and then else if choice is equal to 2, then you have to print your choice was 2 and the relative information. So system.out.println, and then I can choose the same thing and then just paste it here. This is for 3, 4, 5, and then we need finally else if none of the choices were true. So this is for 3, this is for 4, this is for 5, and this is 3, 4, 5, and then the information that we need to print. So for the third one, it is this information. For the fourth one, it's this one. And then for the fifth one, it's this one. Oh, okay. And then finally, you have to print you entered a wrong choice for the else. System.out.println, you entered a wrong choice. So what happens, let's say this is printed and the user chooses 3. The choice that the user gave you is 3. So the first thing the code will do, will check, is the choice 1? It is not 1 because we said the choice is 3. So it will skip this, go to choice 2. Is it 2? No. So skip this, go to 3. Is it 3? Yes. So it will print all of this information, and then all of this other code will be skipped. Why? Because of the else. Now, if the user chose 5, again, it goes through the same process. It goes through 1. No, it's not correct. 2 is not correct. 3 is not correct. 4 is not correct. 5 is correct. So this is printed and the else is ignored. Now, if the user gave the input as 100, it will check all of these and no matches were found. So it will go to the else part, and this is the statement that will be printed. Okay, and let's check. Now for the flowchart, this is an example of a cascaded statement. So here, cascaded statements always have a particular way of how they look. This is how they would eventually look. So for example, if let's change this. So you have string, it's not string object anymore, it is int choice, prompt user for choice, and before the prompt you have to display menu, prompt user for choice, read and store choice. Now is choice equal to is choice 1, let's say. If the choice was 1, we print, I think Manama or something like that. So if it's true, we print something. If it's not true, okay, in that case, what we do is we check for the next condition. We check is choice 2. Okay, and then if this was true, then we print, I don't know what was required to be printed, but we print something, right? Print choice is 2 and the relative information. If, and this we make sure that this is connected to the true branch. And this is false. And then if it was not 2 as well, then we check if it was, where is it? Yeah, then we check if it is choice 3. Okay, and this is on the false side. So similarly, you will keep continuing it, and this will be connected to end. But notice that every condition falls on the false branch of the previous condition. So condition number 2 falls on the false branch of condition number 1. Condition number 3 falls on the false branch of condition number 2. So if the conditions, if every condition falls on the false branch, so if every condition is under the false branch of the previous condition, then this is an example of cascaded if. Okay, and the opposite of this is the nested if, which is if every condition falls on the true side of the previous condition. In that case, it is nested condition. So this one is an example of cascaded. This is how you write cascaded statements. If, else, if, and then finally else. How many ever choices you need, and then finally else. Okay. Now create a program, class name is grade, where a user can enter his or her exam result between 1 and 100 as input, and the grade is calculated. Again, this is a range, right? So again, this is considered, let's say, like here you have different options of a grade, right? You have A, B, C, D, and they depend on some condition, but there are different options to give a grade to a student. So again, this falls under the cascaded statements. So again, start the same way, public class grade, public static void main string arguments, and then import java.util.scanner, and here we will create the scanner object. Input is equal to new scanner system.in prompt. Okay, we need to read the input. Input is integer, so int mark, and then prompt the user, please enter your exam mark. So system.out.println, please enter your mark. Mark is equal to input.next int, and then finally start checking. So if let's say for A grade, what is the range? It should be either, the mark should be 85, between 85 and 100. So it can be 85, 86, 87 until 100. So the mark should be greater than or equal to 85. It can be more than 85 or equal to 85. So mark greater than or equal to 85. And then mark should also be less than or equal to 100. There's a range. It can be between 85 and between 85 and 100. If you notice how I'm speaking, I'm saying the mark can be between 85 and 100. So the operator to join this is and. Okay. If we say let's say or, what can happen is the mark, there can be a mark that is more than 85, but it's also greater than 100, because if you remember, or either condition can be true. So usually with ranges, if a range is given to you, the operator that you will choose to use in order to connect two statements will be and if you remember from the unit 4, 4a basically, whenever you use an operator, there has to be something on the left and right. This operator also, and operator, has something on the left and something on the right. Operators are usually the one that are written in the middle. Okay, so if this is the thing, then we print out your grade is A. So system.out.println, your grade is A. If this is not, if the range didn't match here, then check if mark is between this 70 and 84. So mark is greater than or equal to 70 and mark is less than or equal to 84. Okay, so and then the grade will be B. Similarly, I can copy this. If the mark is between 60 and 69, so 60 and 69, then the grade is C. And then I had it copied, this one. Oh, now otherwise, if it's not, if it's less than 60, like if the mark that the user gave you is not in this range, then obviously it is in this range, right? So you can write the remaining as else, and the grade is D. So if you check this again, this is an example of cascaded, because you have if, else, if, else, if, else. Okay, 2 more questions after this. Okay, so it is correct. Now, for this question, you're supposed to amend question number 4. So I will copy it from there. Question 4. Okay. And so if the password is correct, the user is prompted to enter the last 4 digits of his or her phone number. If this is also correct, the user sees the message, you have gained access to the system. If the password is correct but the phone number is incorrect, the user sees the message, your phone number is incorrect. So something after the password is correct. Okay. So if the password that the user gave is correct, then you ask them for their last digit phone number. This is like OTP. When you try to log in, the login is okay, but then just for confirming that it's really you, they send you an OTP, right? The same way. So please enter the last 4 digits of your phone number. If the phone number digits are 1, 2, 3, 4, only then you print you have gained access. If the user messes this number up, you say your phone number is incorrect. So this is an example of nested statement, and I will show you how, because the next condition, the second condition, falls after the first condition was true. Okay, so after the password is correct, I will ask the user for their phone number, which is please enter the last digits of your phone number. And because I need a phone number, I need to create a variable for it. So int phone, and we have a correct phone number as well. So final int correct phone. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So system.out.println, please enter last digits of your phone number. This is phone is equal to input. You can use the same scanner that we have, which is input dot next int. And if, now we check again, if phone is equal to correct phone, if this is true, then we print this statement, you have gained access to the system. Okay, if this is false, then we print something, your phone number is incorrect. Okay, so system.out.println, your phone number is incorrect. Now in flowchart, it would look something like this. I will only do the decisions here. So if is password correct? Okay, now if the password is correct, we have a decision to make. Sorry, not decision, actually we prompt user for phone number and then read and store phone number. Okay, now then we have the decision to make here, which is what says is phone number correct, and this is on the true side. So if you notice, the second decision falls on the true side of the first decision. And this is an example of a nested if statement. And again, for this, if there's a third condition, that will also fall on the true side of this condition. So nested conditions fall on the true side of the previous condition, and cascaded conditions falls on the false side of the previous condition. Okay, I'm not completing it because it will take a lot of time. You can do that on your own time. But yeah, okay, this is correct now. And then finally, you're supposed to copy the code that we created for this menu question and paste it here. I don't like this sidebar. Okay, and then what you're supposed to do, replace if else if with switch. Okay, so this now only cascaded statements can be written as switch statements. How can you change it? Instead of writing this choice variable multiple times, you can just say switch choice. And then for each of the conditions, so choice has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, case 5. Now after case 5, we have the else, and in switch that is denoted as default. Now in case 1, we're supposed to print this statement here, and then in choice 2 we print in case 2 we print this, in case 3 we print this, and in case 4 it wait, I think I messed it up. This is, yeah, this is for the second one, this is the third one, this is the fourth one, this is the fifth one, and then this is the else. Okay, now one thing that is different that you need to make sure that is done for all the cases when you write switch is make sure that after every case, whatever you do after, like for example here for case 1 we have a print statement, right? Just after that you have to write, or at the end you have to write break. So it should look something like this. This is the proper way of writing it. So at the end we need to write break. Again here at the end we need to write break. Break, and then finally here as well break. Now you can skip the break for the default, that's not required, but for every case you need to put a break. Why? Because let's say you found the code, it found the match here, So it will print this, but after that we want to tell the code to leave. We don't want the code to continue checking anymore. So leave, which means break means leave. So once this is printed, it will leave the switch statement, which is it will come here, and if you have some statement written here, it will execute that. Okay, and you can get rid of this code, check, and it should work. So the only time you can use a switch is when you're checking equality. So we, in the statements before, we wrote switch choice one, sorry, choice is equal to one, right? So in only those conditions you can use switch. Otherwise you can't use switch. So for these kind of conditions you can't use switch. Okay. All right, so I think that's it for this lab. If you have any questions, let me know, and try to practice this as many times as you can. The lab is open until, I've extended this lab. I think this lab will close now on the 25th, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 25th of March. Okay, so try to do that, and all the very best.